Thank you. Welcome to Monday's Look North.
On the programme tonight, major new research carried out in Yorkshire. Pregnant women are advised to sleep on their sides to cut their risk of stillbirth. We'll be speaking to one mum who took part in the study who lost her baby boy at 35 weeks.
Also tonight, showing true Yorkshire grit, why this North Yorkshire town claims it's the most self-sufficient community in the country. Meet the Game of Thrones actor from Sheffield, who's the world's best para-badminton player. And everybody's talking about Jamie, the Sheffield showstopper, which is on its way to the West End.
Changeable week, mild with some rain at first, drier but colder later. Join me for that detailed forecast.
Good evening. First tonight, the new advice that could help pregnant women save the lives of their unborn babies. It comes after research showed that the risk of stillbirth is doubled if women go to sleep on their backs in the third trimester.
Now, the study is the largest of its kind and focused on more than 1,000 women over 2 years. In a moment, we'll talk to one of the researchers from the University of Leeds. But first, Ali Fortescue has been to meet one mother from Bradford who took part in it.
I knew something was wrong. I woke up in the morning and I just knew something was wrong. And we went to the hospital, and when they couldn't find the heartbeat and they nipped off to go and find a doctor, I knew there was something not quite right. And like I say, lots of cards. These are his footprints.
Grace lost baby Louis at 35 weeks. She still doesn't know what caused her stillbirth.
He was so tiny. He was just perfectly formed. He had a beautiful upper lip. And I think you always think about the what ifs. What if I did this differently? Why has this happened? What have I done wrong? A lot of guilt. Just sadness beyond anything I've ever experienced.
Grace says she was never given any advice on sleep positions when she was pregnant. She's one of nearly 300 Yorkshire women to have taken part in the Midlands and North of England's stillbirth study. The study found that 1 in 225 pregnancies in the UK ended in stillbirth. That's around 11 babies a day. It also found that the risk of stillbirth drops by nearly 4% if women sleep on their side in the third trimester, which could save 130 lives a year in the UK.
There were two in the bed and the little one said, roll over.
The study comes alongside a charity campaign. The advice is simple. Sleeping on your side could halve the risk of a stillbirth.
You might end up in all sorts of positions when asleep, but the important thing to remember is to start on your side.
It's hard to know for sure, but it's thought that when you lie on your back, you could be putting weight on important blood vessels and restricting the flow of oxygen to a baby. Research has shown that the number of stillbirths in the UK has gone down in the last 2 years, but the figures here are still high and above those in many other high-income countries.
We want to be one of the best countries in the world and one of the safest places to have a baby, so there's lots of work to do. And actually this study will contribute to that because it's given us some simple advice that we can give women that will cut their risk of having a stillbirth.
Grace has now started a new chapter, and 9 months ago, Reuben joined the family.
Hearing that baby cry in the delivery room was just amazing.
She'll never know what would have happened if she'd had this advice. But Grace hopes that her story and her part in the study can save lives. Ali Fortescue, BBC Look North, Bradford.
Let's talk now to Dr. Thomasina Stacey. She's a midwife and a lecturer in maternal care at the University of Leeds, and she's been heavily involved in this research project. I know that you also did a similar project in New Zealand. Why did you decide to do it over here in the UK?
Our project in New Zealand was the first time that we found this association between sleep position and stillbirth, and it was quite a small project, and before we put out messages to women we needed to confirm that this association was correct. We also would like to do it in the UK in a different population to make sure that the results were consistent.
11 stillbirths a day in the UK, that's astonishing, isn't it? Why do we fare quite badly amongst high-income countries?
That's a really hard question, and one of the positive things is that we're improving. But it may be to do with the diversity of our society. There's certainly inequalities in stillbirth rates across the country and in different populations. And it's one of the things that we're really looking at through confidential inquiries, but also through research like this.
Anybody who's pregnant, I suspect, gets so much conflicting advice. How solid is this advice that you're giving?
We feel that it's really solid, which is why we're helping develop this public health campaign as well. It's the fourth study now that's looked at this association between how women go to sleep and stillbirth. And all the studies have shown a really similar association and the same kind of risk, which suggests that it's pretty solid.
I think everybody who's pregnant seems to always say that it's hard to get to sleep anyway at certain times. But what is the right way, would you say, Thomasina, to actually go to sleep?
The right way is really for women to settle to sleep on their side. It doesn't matter which side they settle on, their left or their right, to make themselves comfortable if they need pillows or anything to help make themselves comfortable. And it doesn't matter, again, if they wake up and find themselves on their back, just settle back to sleep on their sides.
Some women might say that this is just scaring expectant mums. It's another piece of advice to take on board. But how important is this advice?
I think the advice is really important, and I hope it won't scare people, because it's something quite simple that we can do as to how we settle to sleep. And it is hard, I completely agree. There's lots of different advice, but this is quite solid advice. It's also quite clear suggestion of how you settle to sleep at night.
Thomasina, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Next night, the A&E department at Pontefract Hospital is to be turned into an urgent treatment centre by April to reflect the range of conditions that can be safely treated there. The facility will continue to be open 24 hours a day and will be staffed by doctors and nurses who deal with urgent but not life-threatening cases. The local NHS says the majority of patients will not notice any changes in the way they receive care.
There have been more than 100 fires at historic mills in Bradford in the last 7 years, a new report has found. This is Drummond's Mill in Manningham, which had to be demolished after a fire in 2016. Historic England says the North's mills are disappearing, despite massive public support for keeping them. A YouGov poll has found 85% of people don't want to see them demolished or replaced.
A £5 million fund to tackle long-term unemployment in South Yorkshire has been halted because of an ongoing row over devolution deals for the region. The project was designed to get people back into work, but Sheffield City Region says the government has to put the brakes on it. There's still uncertainty about the future of devolved powers in the area, with local councils split over the makeup of a deal.
Gabby Logan has announced she's stepping down from her role as Chancellor of Leeds Trinity University. The BBC Sports presenter, who was born in Leeds, was the first person ever to hold the post. She'll continue as Chancellor until January, when she completes her 5-year term. Later on tonight's Look North.
Gary Monk comes back to Ellen Road, but this time the fans are glad to see him lose.
Next tonight, scientists at Leeds University are developing a revolutionary way of examining people in remote parts of the world for the warning signs of stomach cancer.
Yes, millions of people in low-income countries have limited access to doctors and nurses with the right skills and equipment. But this new device is hoping to change all that. Our health correspondent Jamie Coulson reports.
Good, you're doing extremely well.
Undergoing tests to investigate whether you have stomach cancer can be a worrying time, but at least in many developed countries there's relatively easy access to experts and specialist equipment if a problem is suspected.
But elsewhere in the world, gastric cancer is much more common and access to healthcare more limited. So scientists at the University of Leeds are investigating whether technology might be able to help.
Gastric cancer is a global problem and a leading cause of cancer death worldwide, but nearly 70% of cases are found in low-income countries with a high incidence around the Pacific Rim. Now a team led by Professor Pietro Valdastri has been developing a portable endoscope for gastric cancer screening that is low cost, easy to transport and doesn't require highly skilled operators.
The patient would swallow this down, and once the system recognizes that it is arrived inside the stomach, then the procedure will start.
The Hydrojet endoscope is designed to guide itself to the correct location in the stomach by using image recognition. Jets of water then move the camera around to identify any areas of concern, which would then require further investigation in a hospital setting.
if we are able to take this platform to fruition, we believe that we can detect this disease at a very early stage and treat it effectively, thus saving lives.
In September, the team travelled to China, a country with a high rate of stomach cancer, where they're working in collaboration with experts at Tianjin University. Although the device is designed for screening, carrying out procedures on wider populations is not something currently recommended by the World Health Organization because it can be costly and invasive. But they remain interested to see how the device might have a practical use when fully developed.
If it can be effective at reaching specific populations that are hard to reach at this time, it can have a lot of impact. What is not clear is what is the exact role that this device could have. For example, if I'm able to generate images, but if I'm not able to bring those people for the further examination, then it's not going to help.
The device is still in development, but it's hoped it could one day help to save lives. Jamie Coulson, BBC Look North.
Let's have a trip to the Dale, shall we? Because this story started 25 years ago when local management bought out the Wensleydale Dairy in the North Yorkshire town of Hawes.
Yes, since then, a community group in the Dales town has taken over the running of a clutch of services, leading to residents claiming that it's the most self-sufficient in the country. Ian Reeve has the story.
They're putting the Christmas lights up in Hawes, and it's locals doing it. They've also raised the £7,000 needed. No council help here. It's just one of many community ventures that makes this, they claim, the most self-sufficient town in the country.
Because of where we are, you have to be self-sufficient to a certain degree, and if you wait for somebody else to do it, you could be waiting a long time.
The library's community run here, as well as a fleet of buses, taking on routes up and down Swaledale and Wensleydale that commercial operators won't touch. Local residents Dave and Ella help to run the post office.
Is there anything else for you today?
The post office in Hawes was shutting down because a couple were retiring, so instead of losing the post office, we decided to move it into here. There's partly paid staff, partly volunteers. They all sort of pull together to help.
The lady from the Daily Mail has got wind of the message from Hawes and come north to write a bit story, providing a lesson for other towns throughout the country.
We're very remote, we're deeply rural personified, and if the alternative is going to be 20, 30, 40, 50 miles of driving, then if we can do it locally, I can assure you we will do our very best to try to do it locally.
The petrol station is the latest community-run venture, saving it from closure. But bigger plans are being laid in Hawes. Community-built affordable houses for local people is an aim. And then, who knows, independence perhaps, for something of a real northern powerhouse. Ian Reeve, BBC Look North, Hawes, North Yorkshire.
Gosh, they really are on everything. The petrol station, the library.
Everything.
Yeah.
The Dales. Wonderful.
Next night, big news for the Sheffield Crucible. One of their original musicals has made such a splash, it's been granted a West End transfer.
Yeah, everybody's talking about Jamie. Actually only ran for 19 performances back in February, but strong word of mouth meant it not only sold out, but word reached producers in the Big Smoke. The result, the show is now wowing the crowds in London. Tom Ingle has this one.
There's a clock on the wall and it's moving too slow.
Jamie, I have a feeling we're not in Sheffield anymore. Lighting up the Apollo Theatre, there's a new West End billboard.
Then I'm coming out hard and I'm giving him hell.
It was a short but definitely sweet stay in the Steel City. Everybody's talking about Jamie was conceived at the Crucible. On the very last day of the run, a West End producer caught the train up from London.
I had no expectations. It made me laugh, then it made me cry, then it made me laugh again, and then everyone danced out the theatre. So I do what I always do, straight into the ladies' loos, because there's always a queue. And you can go, you say, oh, well, you know, what do you all think? And because they're queuing, you get an answer. And they all went, we loved it.
See you tomorrow.
The rest, as they say in showbiz, is history. Even better, the promotion for the show makes its roots clear, and it remains set in Sheffield. Most of the original cast make the move too, with John McCrae and Lucy Whitehouse starring as the schoolboy drag queen and his best friend.
It's really weird. Even on the last night in Sheffield, I thought, it's not. I knew it wasn't the end. I just thought it's got to have another life. And I just had such faith in the show.
This always had a certain energy around it, I think, and I knew that if it was to carry on, it would be a big deal.
You're amongst people who are very accepting and loyal.
Jamie has survived a change of location and medium before. The real-life inspiration was Jamie Campbell, whose story was told in a BBC Three documentary. Jamie, drag queen at 16.
I felt the pressure when I first took it on, but now we've become quite good friends and we have quite a close relationship, and he's just a phone call away if I ever have any questions or anything. So it's not so much pressure as just I feel the responsibility and I want to get it as right as I can.
He's my
The transfer represents an investment of £1.2 million. Word of mouth is still essential.
There's nothing more exciting for a producer than seeing an audience leap to its feet, clap their hands and cheer. To take a risk on a completely new creative team is massive. And goodness me, well done Sheffield, and congratulations, and look how it's paying off.
The press will cast their verdict on Wednesday, and then we'll find out if everybody really is talking about Jamie. Tom Ingle, BBC Look North, in the West End of London.
Let's hope they do as well.
That
Good
has
luck to all of
West
them.
End sparkle all over it.
Good luck to all of them. Time for sport now. Leeds United face top of the table Wolves on Wednesday, but they'll go into that test buoyed by a good performance and victory over Middlesbrough yesterday.
There was growing unease at Ellen Road after a poor run of form, but the return of Gary Monk, now the Borough manager, seemed to bring out the best in his old side. Here's Tanya with a pick of the weekend's action.
Back at Elland Road, but this time in the away dugout. Gary Monk did some good things in his time in charge, including bringing in Pablo Hernandez, scorer of the opening goal. A penny for those thoughts. He was the tormentor-in-chief, a beautiful pass setting up the second goal for Gianni Alioski. Leeds were cruising until a controversial penalty. There's no doubting the first offence was Borough's, but it seems the referee only saw Luke Ayling's reaction. It made for a tense ending to the game, but Leeds thoroughly deserved the win, which should ease the pressure on Thomas Christensen.
It was important to take the 3 points. I don't care about the pressure. I take gladly the pressure if I can take it away from the players. And the only thing is that I give the confidence to my players.
Sheffield United hope Paul Coots will be back for pre-season next year after breaking his leg in Friday's victory at Burton. It marred what was a good night for the Blades, winning 3-1, 2 goals coming from captain Billy Sharp. Barnsley picked up a point away at Norwich. Harvey Barnes finishing a nice move, while Sheffield Wednesday drew 0-0 with Bristol City. In League One, Bradford City inflicted Wigan's first home league defeat since March with a thoroughly deserved 2-1 win. Charlie White bundled in the first, the home side equalised, and City had to wait until injury time for the winner. But it was well worth the wait. Take a bow, Tyrell Robinson. Elsewhere, Doncaster drew 0-0 at Fleetwood and Rotherham lost to Shrewsbury. And in League Two, Christian Dennis scored his 12th goal of the season to give Chesterfield a 1-0 win over promotion-chasing Exeter. They remain bottom of the table, though.
The Sheffield Steelers are through to ice hockey's Continental Cup final after a winner-takes-all match in Latvia.
With the home side Kurbad's Riga pushing for an equaliser in the dying seconds, Ben O'Connor found the empty net to seal the win 4-2. The finals take place in January and Sheffield Arena is bidding to host them.
Now, the World Para-Badminton Championship starts tomorrow in South Korea, and Great Britain is one of the leading nations in the sport that will make its Paralympic debut in Tokyo in 2020.
Yes, world number one, Kristen Coombs, is based in Sheffield, and he also does a bit of acting on the side. Kate Gray reports.
Game of Thrones is one of the biggest TV shows in the world, watched and loved by millions. But I bet you didn't know it is also featured one of the world's best para-badminton players, Kristen Coombs, hot favourite to win a medal in Tokyo when the sport makes its Paralympic debut.
There's a real focus now. Before, obviously, you wanted to do well and still go to World Championships and Europeans, but to be able to go to the Paralympics is the biggest and best thing, isn't it?
For now, he's training towards the World Championships, and his coach is feeling pretty confident about his chances.
dominated in the last 12 months. He's done really well. He's world #1 in singles and doubles. Moving forward, he's got to be looking to become double world champion.
Kristen moved to Sheffield this time last year to play alongside many of his British teammates. But it's challenging times for these players as para-badminton currently has no funding to support its elite programmes.
It's been really tough, you know, it's meant I've had to have a job at the same time, which is, you know, I've managed to balance it out. I've got a great job at IKEA, which is awesome, and they're really supportive.
As well as his day job, to help fund his badminton career, Kristen has become known for his acting abilities.
Done panto for the last 5 years at Christmas. We've also done Game of Thrones. Being on the set was amazing because we went out to Croatia for the filming as well, which was awesome.
What are your future plans for acting? Is that something you want to have alongside your para-badminton?
Maybe, I suppose. It's a lot of waiting around, I find, because obviously there isn't hundreds of dwarf roles every year, is there? It's very small, specific things. So at the moment, I think I'll just put it on hold a bit and concentrate now on the badminton.
But with winter coming, will it be enough to take that world title? Kate Gray, BBC Look North, Sheffield.
He's a talented chap, isn't he? Badminton and
Good luck to
acting.
him.
Yes, good luck. Now, a huge thank you to everyone who took part in Children in Need on Friday. It was quite a night, wasn't it? I'm thrilled to say that the total raised here in Yorkshire is an incredible £3,308,601.
Now, 5 schools across West Yorkshire took part in the Children in Need choir at the Peace Hall in Halifax. Now, sadly, we didn't manage to play that much of them singing on Friday's programme, so we thought we'd give you the opportunity to see them singing Over the Rainbow once more. I think you'll agree, they made Yorkshire proud. Brilliant, thank you. What a week it was, wasn't it? We did 5 challenges, of course, and they weren't easy, but it was worth it after you donated an amazing £40,493 and 37 pence to Children in Need.
Yes, thank you for that. It certainly was a tough week. We took on an assault course and had to spend a day in the stocks.
Don't show that again.
That was my favourite moment, I think, from the week.
We went caving deep in the Yorkshire Dales, and then, oh joy, I was strapped to Paul for 15 miles, 16 miles actually, from Huddersfield to Halifax.
How was that for you, Paul?
Well, we found it difficult, didn't we?
Shibden Wall was very tough.
Anyway, never mind that. What about me putt?
Yeah.
You've not heard about that for half an hour, have you?
No, we haven't. No,
I thought you were going to play it again.
No.
Right, let me show you 2 pictures instead then if we can't see the putt. Let's have a look. That's Kirkham Abbey. Beautiful. That was at sunrise on Sunday morning. And the next picture, that's stunning. That's the middle of Leeds Park Square, I believe. Right, keep the pictures coming in. Paul the Weatherman on Instagram, or you can tweet me at Hudson Weather, and of course there's the super duper bbc.co.uk /Weather Watcher website. Let's have a look at the headline then. For tomorrow, it's mild. There is more rain in the forecast. Certainly quite a lot of rain for the Yorkshire Dales, Pennine parts of West Yorkshire on Wednesday. For that, the Met Office have issued a warning. There's Wednesday's chart. We'll have to keep our eye on that because it's going to be very active, drawing some subtropical air up. So usually that means some pretty heavy and persistent rain for high ground. But further east, it should be mild and mostly dry. So it has been a pretty dreary day, especially across the Pennines. We've seen some breaks developing this afternoon. That's lifted temperatures up to 12 or 13 degrees. But the next area of cloud, rain and drizzle waits in the west. So after a dry evening, certainly away from the Pennines, the cloud will steadily thicken from the southwest. That cloud will bring occasional outbreaks of rain and drizzle. There'll be mist, fog and low cloud over the Pennines. It begins to clear late in the night and certainly a very mild night for November. We're looking at lowest temperatures in Sheffield in double figures, I think they're 10 or 11 Celsius. 11 Celsius is 52 Fahrenheit. So the sun rises in the morning at around about 7:43. Your next high water time in Filey at 5:40. So a bit of a damp start, a lot of cloud, that patchy overnight rain clearing away northeastwards. Still some drizzle across the Pennines, but it's an improving picture through the morning. All parts becoming dry, a little bit brighter the east of high ground, but then the next weather system brings rain in from the west, and some of this could turn out to be heavy for the commute tomorrow tea time, so make a note of that. So let's have a look at the top temperatures. Well, it's a mild direction. The wind will freshen from the southwest. We're looking at highest temperatures around about 13 in York and Thirsk. If we get any decent brightness, eastern parts of South Yorkshire, Finningley, Bawtry, may well just nudge up to 14 Celsius. That is 57 Fahrenheit. As for Wednesday, remember there's a Met Office warning for heavy rain across Pennine parts of West and North Yorkshire. Perhaps Peak District having a lot of rain on Wednesday, but further east, once you get to the east of high ground, very little rain. In fact, the coast may well be bright at times. Temperatures 14, 15 degrees, very mild. But then it goes colder Thursday and Friday. Thursday could well be the best day of the week, dry with some sunshine. Friday's cold with bright or sunny intervals and the risk of 1 or 2 showers. That's the forecast.
Thanks very much indeed, Paul. We've got an update, of course, at 8 o'clock, and Lottie will be here with the late news. We'd love to leave you tonight with Paul's amazing putt. Sadly, we've run out of time. We can't, from all of us.
I can, it's on my phone. Shall I get it out?
Good night.